My name's Phil Smunt. I'm the sales manager here at the Roadster Shop. Roadster Shop is an American chassis manufacturer and hot rod shop. We've been around for a while here in the Chicagoland area and serve customers and hot rod shops all across the United States as well as the world and around the globe. So we ship chassis to customers all over the place. Currently we cover over 100 different vehicle applications from production style chassis, and we can do a custom chassis for just about any sort of vehicle that anybody wants a chassis for. Yeah, so Glenn from Moitz, he actually gave us a ring and said that he was going to be in town and wanted to stop in. So that was about a year and a half ago, and he came to the shop, stopped in, and I think he initially was looking at chassis for other vehicle or projects that he was doing, and we started discussing the custom chassis program that we do after showing him around the shop, and he brought up the fact that the Australian Ford Falcon was quite a popular muscle car down in his market, and he asked us if that was something that if he was able to provide some data for, we could build a chassis for, and we said absolutely. You know, being a unibody or subframe vehicle was going to be quite the challenge, but Glenn and his team were able to get a Ford Falcon in their shop, scan it, and send us the data, and based on the data that he sent us, we were able to start designing a full bolt-on chassis for them. The spec chassis design that we're doing for Moitz for the Falcons, the biggest thing is not really having those cars here in America and going purely off the scan data that Moitz was sending to us. We knew that it would kind of be a universal one chassis fits all, and we wanted to make sure that we cover all the proper drivetrains, engine, and certain transmissions that they would be running. Basically, small block Ford, Coyote, potentially a new Godzilla engine. So the cool unique thing about the spec chassis is that the engine mounts are all bolt-in, as well as a transmission mount, which is adjustable. So basically any of those engine and transmission combinations, the chassis will be able to fit those and accommodate those in the engine bay and the transmission tunnel. Additionally, it's a bolt-on style chassis. It utilizes the rear subframe rails as an existing mounting point. The front subframe rails are to be removed when you install the body on the chassis. But it allows for the body to have a nice rigid structure underneath it, put powerful and high horsepower engines in there and be able to drive the thing like a modern vehicle. One of the other cool features is the whole package that we offer them is, you know, fully covered brake components, brake lines, the engine trans mounts, which we already discussed, fuel tank, and power rack and pinion. Right-hand drive for the Australian market. They're one of the first ones that have sent us a scan for a vehicle that's not in our market. So again, very cool that they were able to attain that data and send it to us. It would have been quite the endeavor for them to ship over a Ford Falcon all the way from Australia. So we were happy just to get the scan data, and it was really high quality, so it worked out well. We have done a number of custom chassis. Obviously, it's one of our biggest sellers is customers from all over the United States send us vehicles that they have that we don't have a production chassis for, and we can easily scan them here in-house and design a chassis for. But it's a little harder when someone's overseas, so happy to have the scan data from Moitz and make this a first for the Ford Falcons in the Australian market.
Yeah, so we would start off by essentially taking our scan data, and from that scan data, we will extrapolate body mount locations, wheel center lines, any critical features needed to design the chassis. From there, we will start off by typically proposing different stances with different wheel tire combinations, different ride heights, really whatever the customer has in mind. We also need to take certain things into account to make sure that those stances or ride heights are feasible. Certain things like hood interference with some engine platforms or drivetrain combinations could cause issues. Lock-to-lock steering on a lowered vehicle is sometimes an issue. Extremely wide tires that would, potentially need mini tubs. Drivetrain floor accommodations like drive shaft tunnels, transmission tunnels, sometimes firewall accommodations, just because a lot of modern drivetrains utilize a lot more room than, say, a small block Chevy would. So sometimes we need to push engines into firewalls. The list goes on. So really, there's a handful of things that we initially will cater to and get with the customer on, and then once we kind of get the ballpark of what we want to do, we'll go from there. Specifically for Australia, I believe there are some regulations involved with the Department of Transportation there. I know that the few chassis we have manufactured for Australian customers have had to go through the process of being okayed and verified by the Department of Transportation. We've never had any issues. It's more or less just been another part of the process. So that's really the one specific thing. That, and obviously right-hand drive chassis are a little bit of a curveball. Thankfully, we just get the proper steering rack and make sure that the chassis accommodates that. If the customer wants brake lines, obviously they'll be ran on the other side of the frame. But the right-hand drive aspect really isn't too big of a deal, and we just make up for that in the IFS and selecting the proper steering rack. So the Falcon is a unibody vehicle. We do deal with those on a regular basis. We take one of two approaches. We could either make a full Weldon style chassis that would need full floor fabrication done and is way more extensive in terms of installation. What we did for this Falcon chassis is we made it bolt-in. That does require removing some of the subframe features on the vehicle, but it does make installation much easier, and it makes removing the chassis, if for any reason you need to do so, feasible as well. So we do pick up a few factory mounting locations like shackle mounts, core support mounts, things like that, and then we add in a few mounting locations as well, simply with weld bungs that are fairly easy to locate and install. So the installation process is very user friendly, and it's definitely something we've kind of aimed to do lately as opposed to in the past. It seems that these chassis are way more popular because they're less involved to get installed. So especially in higher volume, like Moitz obviously wants to make a few of these, and if we can get this process down and make it as quick and easy as possible, it'll definitely benefit them in the long run. So
currently, right now, they have 5 on order that they're going to get down to Australia, and more to come after that. So the way we design the chassis is a tube style design, and it didn't really make sense from a financial standpoint to only design and sell one of those in either our Fast Track or Revo variation. But in the spec chassis, we can design and make a custom chassis that is more in lines with the production style, and be able to send those down to Moitz for them to exclusively distribute to that market. So by the time Moitz actually receives the chassis, it'll be fully crated, but it's a fully assembled platform. So the frame, the front suspension, the rear suspension, a lot of the components that are ordered with the chassis will be completely on there. So when Moitz gets it, they'll have a full rolling platform that they can roll into their shop, take the body, put right onto it, and have a customer walk in, and right then and there they could see exactly how the car is going to lay out on the chassis platform.